Hello, and welcome to Honest Trailer Commentaries for Alita, the Battle Angel.
Alita!
Yes, thank you, Lon, Danielle, Joe, Dan.
Hello.
Hopefully you've watched the Alita Honest Trailer by now, and if you watch this, you'll get, more of a free-form discussion of what we were thinking, some jokes that didn't make the final cut, and a whole bunch. First, Alita. Mixed feelings about this film. I don't think it was bad. I don't think it was great. I think it was an entertaining, if somewhat dated film that kind of let you realize it was written in the 80s and been in development since the 90s. Discuss.
Yeah, it's a lot of motorball for a movie about an android from Mars and a war.
Oh, we did a little bit of like a light wiki dive into this franchise. There's
Powered by fandom.
Powered by fandom. There's this thing called space karate that figures pretty prominently, which Panzerkunst, I believe, is a derivative of.
That tracks.
There's a robot that wanted to create a karate planet. Like there seems like there's a real rich vein of maybe space karate based stuff that the movie could have drawn on. But I assume that was in part 3 of the planned trilogy.
I am going to go read that immediately.
I don't know why you don't look. We've proven that we don't need origin stories anymore. People are pretty smart. Yeah, like Peter Parker, we don't need to know his own shot anymore.
Spider-Man
Yeah, but like we've had a bunch of Alitas. We get it. She's a smart murder lady that's also a robot. Start with Karate Planet and just be like a while back there was a smart robot girl and they rebuilt her out of a dumpster and I'll go, okay.
Yeah,
I'm there.
It definitely has the feeling of one of those adaptations that if you're not familiar with the source material, you could feel them. But this guy in here, I've got to talk about his sword. And it's like at a certain point, if you're just watching it as a movie and not expecting to get all these, dots crossed or whatever. No, that's not the expression. But you don't need all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys are having fun. I've already been through this once with Alita because I reviewed it. So I've been on this merry-go-round one time and... have fun, because I did not review
because it's the best movie.
I did not review it favorably when it came out. I will say I came in kind of hot. It was one of those things where we saw the movie and then the embargo was dropping, so we just went right into the review. And I came in a little hot and I was a little angry at it, maybe a little too angry. But I stand by what I said. I was a little upset because this movie is all set up. I know James Cameron and I know Robert Rodriguez and I know they know how to tell a story. And I did not like this movie was pretty much all set up for the later movies. And people's like, well, then I guess you didn't like Lord of the Rings either. And it's like, no. If you look at Lord of the Rings structurally, each movie has a structure. They have character arcs. They have storylines throughout the film that are introduced and resolved in the structure of the movie.
Yeah, so it was also
be 3 movies,
right? And they were all shot together, so it's like that's one story.
But they're saying, well, Alita's an ongoing story because it's
it ain't. No, it's not.
Another one. Well, there's years and years of a manga to adapt.
Right. I'm just saying why this is me defending. Sure. It's just like I set up for the next movie. In and of themselves, they had storylines and the major conflicts in each of those ones. Outside of the super conflict of destroying the ring was resolved. Whereas this movie, I felt, was it introduced the characters and the world. And that was about it. It was like introducing, and then we're setting up for the sequel. And so, yeah.
Hey, Jennifer Connelly gets put inside a briefcase. So you can't argue that. That happens in this movie.
Her brain, her googly eyes, all of it.
Googly eyes and brain.
I will say, I thought this movie, because it's not all negative, I think I just said at the top that I liked it. But it looks incredible. This movie looks awesome, and I know that awesome robot fighting does not a movie make, but there was some awesome robot fighting in this. Believable, the anime aesthetic. Like the eyes did not bug me as much as I thought they would when those bug eyes first came out.
Yeah. If the nicest thing I can say about this movie is that the giant eyes didn't bother me, then the giant eyes didn't bother me. I'm torn on this because the robot fighting looked cool, but also, like a really good game of Overwatch could be fun to watch too, and the graphics are so. I'm sort of torn there. It's like, is that good enough for me to come out and be like, you know what, I liked this movie, or can I just watch like a Let's Play of Zero Dawn Horizon or Fortnite?
Close enough.
One of those is real.
What's the Horizon
Dawn?
Zero Dawn. Thank you. I misplaced a word. I don't know, man. I don't know if it's enough.
Yeah.
Because otherwise there wasn't a whole lot going on.
I gotta be honest, I found it pretty entertaining. Like, I enjoyed the movie. I think that's why overburdening it with so much setup and exposition bugged me, because when it wasn't doing that, I was like, well, all right, I could watch a Hunter Warrior take on a bunch of robots in a bar. That sounds fun.
Yeah, robot fighting can be enough for me sometimes.
Yeah.
Weren't they hunter killers? Or was they hunter warriors?
There's a movie, Hunter
they
Killer.
bounty hunters.
Hunter Killer is a
Bounty
separate
hunters.
movie. They're Hunter Warriors, right?
Yeah.
Back me up on
Ready
it.
Player One of bad robot cyberpunk animated.
I feel like there's a few movies that are on the timeline, like that's our future before we get to Alita Future, and I feel like Robot Jocks is one of those.
Yes.
That like we'll be in Robot Jocks time, and then after
we'll have
that, Alita
plenty of
happens.
time to talk Robot Jocks as we watch the honest trailer for Battle Angel Alita.
Good transition.
Alita Battle.
Alita, whatever.
The Battle Angel.
Coming up to the stage, it's Alita.
Zero Horizon
From a
Dawn.
studio that couldn't make it through the
Sure to
21st
tip
century
Alita.
comes Hollywood's best adaptation of a manga yet,
Yeah.
which, to be fair, is a really low bar to clear.
Farts.
Alita Battle.
That's from our honest trailer for Dragon Ball Evolution.
Yeah, yes, we added the fart noise,
But wait, hang on.
the audience was adding that fart noise in their mind as well. Also, we had to cut down to just one choice fart.
Back when I was still editing them, when you guys were like, put farts in, and I was like,
I'll put this in my art.
yeah.
Yeah, I had objected a little bit when I first saw the script and you had Dragon Ball Evolution in there. I was like, there are more recent examples of this thing that we're talking about, but I didn't realize
They're making more
I didn't
bad ones
realize
every
they were
day.
the fart sounds.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
saw some people sticking up for Ghost in the Shell.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Actually, I feel about the same as Ghost in the Shell. It's not, I know that there's stories familiar because lots of other stories were based on this story,
Right.
but like there's really great movies also that are based on familiar stories that have great scripts, to me, in my opinion, have great scripts and are able to innovatively and interestingly tell the story. And then there are movies like I Thought This and Ghost in the Shell that were just like coasting on the visuals and had the most cliched
that's fair.
Reddit seen it all before screenplays in the world. And that's sort of, visuals aren't always enough for me.
I'm thinking more in the middle on that. Like maybe it's because I've seen the Ghost in the Shell anime and I've never seen the original Alita, but I don't think the original. I think everything you just said is true of the new Ghost in the Shell. It's just like, let's make it look like the cartoon, but it's live action. People will be blown away, and Scarlett Johansson's there. But this one, I think it is doing more to sort of break up the story and rethink it. Not a total success, but
We'll never agree on
somewhere
anything long.
no. You get out.
All right, run it.
I watched Glass 8 times before I watched it.
Oh boy, Glass.
Alita Battle Angel.
Turns in a puddle.
Oh, and the heart of a MacGuffin.
You have a heart strong enough to power all of Iron City for years.
On the surface, she's the internet's perfect woman, a sexy killer dumpster
Space
baby
karate.
who's totally legal
So I'm 300 years old.
and will kiss you if you give her chocolate.
Pause.
So is this where we should talk about our favorite scene to reference and reenact with each other, where Christoph Waltz makes it very clear that when Alita gets a new body, one that's more post-pubescent than the last one, he makes it very clear that this was her own decision.
Yeah,
It's subconscious.
She found a
That's
body.
how she sees herself.
She found a body in a spaceship that she wants to install her brain in, and the body reacts to her mind.
Yes.
It makes her look the way she visualizes herself.
And he goes, oh, it's to turn into more of a woman. That's how she sees herself, not how I would have designed her.
That would be creepy.
That would be very weird if I gave her breasts. But she's doing that to herself, so it's cool.
It was completely her decision, unlike the decision to dress her in the clothes of my daughter and also name her after my daughter.
Totally
Was that
normal.
a thing? Totally
Cool.
normal thing that a guy just
Her
does.
lens. This is she seeing herself through her own lens. This is not anyone else.
Attracted was not my idea. It came from the aliens.
Look, the body's reforming itself. It's reforming itself, not me, the body.
Certainly not written or directed in a meta sense by men in any way. This is completely up to Alita the lady.
Robert Rodriguez was very against this. He
This is Alita through and through.
It's all from this robot guy.
Yeah, that was rewatch that scene if you haven't seen Alita. We all got a kick out of that as she matures via her.
I wanted the whole honest trailer to be that. To just be like 6 minutes of that.
Yeah,
Just playing that scene on a loop.
I think that maybe that's That's not how we do things. That's fair. For a good reason, because there's
fair.
so much else to talk about. But
Yeah.
that's true. All we really want to talk about is that, and that's what this show's for.
Would have been great as a way to like prank our audience to do that and then do starring and let them think we're gonna go back to making a real honest trailer, but then just keep on going. Imagine how bad they were starring these very perky breasts that were not my idea.
I went to medical school in Zalem. They never taught me this procedure. It is not in my wheelhouse. It's not my expertise.
This is alien technology. I'm helpless to work with it.
I didn't notice you there. What have you done? Oh, you look good. Okay, let's keep going.
She's older than you think, you guys.
Right there. Dog's blood?
Dog's blood.
Yes,
Dog's blood. That's how you get pink eye.
A dog she loved too, not just some random dog.
Yeah, I thought
She
that,
petted it once.
Yeah.
She loved that.
She loved that dog. It was nice.
She gave that dog a burrito.
Did give her a
Which is at the beginning of every screenwriting manual.
Yeah,
the dog a
Protagonist,
burrito.
Give a dog a burrito.
That's the
they're-
sequel to Save the
Right,
Cat.
save the cat, give the dog a burrito. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked when they killed the dog in this movie, and then I was even more shocked when she smeared the blood on her face.
She's like John Wick in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't ever smear the dog.
No,
that
but
would be
it's
a
all.
different,
But
very
she's
different
motivated for revenge by the death
Yeah.
of a dog.
Yeah, that's true.
movie. Now I want to see the cut of John Wick where he dips his fingers in the dog's blood.
Wraps the dog around his forehead.
I just
like
want
a
the scene
bandana.
where Royal Tenenbaum brings her back to the doctor's house. He's like, "That's dog's blood."
Don't worry about it. It's just dog's blood.
Okay, keep going.
Cram a whole franchise worth of exposition into one short movie.
What's Final Champion? Does anyone ever go up to Zalem? What's outside the city? What holds it up? Why are there so many languages? Whose body is this? Who am I? Who has the power to do that? What happened? What's that? And what are those things? What is that?
We don't have time for this,
Pause.
Alita.
When I say that I don't like the script for the movie, this is what I'm talking about. That is that's literally the cheapest and laziest way to get exposition into a movie, is to have a character who just asks, like, what does that mean? Well, you see, 300 years ago, it's everything. Oh, okay. Hey, what is this? Oh, well, that is the thing. It's like, okay. Hey, what's that? Oh, you see, when these guys over here.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, where does this go? It's like, oh my God. Like, that's what I mean. It's like, you can, whatever.
And
I'm not
movies-
going to go over this again. I've already been, like, as I mentioned, I've been through the ringer once with this movie when it came out. I'm not going to do it again. But that's what I mean when I say I don't like the script.
Yeah, and like even movies that are very heavily expositioned, they try. Usually they try to
They
come up
hide
with an
it.
excuse.
Yes.
They try to experiment. In Back to the Future, that's the excuse for like I'm going to tell the audience about the time travel thing I'm doing. But they cleverly bury it in he needs Marty to film him.
Yes.
So this they don't even try, to the point that I actually think there was a conscious decision like let's not even try to.
Right, you have to. It's
so
called laying
much-
pipe. You have to lay the pipe. I know it sounds dirty, but it's
Yeah.
not.
It was her decision to do it.
She had to lay the pipe. It's for alien technology.
People try usually to hide that somehow, but this movie makes no attempt whatsoever to disguise it.
And you honestly don't need to explain as much as they do.
No.
Like, you can get it from context clues. Like, oh, the rich people live in the flying disc and they poop their junk on the people down below. And
We've
they
all
want to
seen
get up
Oblivion.
there.
We know it's
Elysium. Just call it Elysium.
I played Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, not
I
Oblivion.
understand.
Elysium. Yeah, we know.
And to be fair, that isn't necessarily a knock on the source material. Like, a lot of these other projects were inspired by Alita.
Yes.
But it's still, like, you need to be a little more clever and judicious in how you explain everything.
Yes.
Like, Motorball is the most, we don't really, it's very simple. We don't need it.
Well, I have more questions about Motorball than I do about the rest of the film. Like,
but you don't need to know
what?
the rules. Like, it's
What-
fine.
Is it a race or is it a game? And what? And
It's a way of life, Spencer.
So they're racing, and one person has the ball. So is it whoever? But they dunk it.
Like
at some
rugby.
point?
Look, when they play the scrimmage early on, which is not in the stadium, then it looks very much like rugby. Like, you gotta try to get the thing in your, but people can knock you and try to take it
Basketball
from you.
in a skate park in 1994.
But then the version that they play in the stadium, and I can't tell it's because like they're not really playing it because they're all just trying to kill her. So maybe that's where we're seeing a.
Well, the game doesn't matter because she literally jumps out of it to go do something.
Yeah, like,
Yeah. While everyone in the audience cheers, and it's like, you guys paid to be here.
Yeah, like,
And they
if
just took the game away from you.
If I was like 10 years ago, if I went to see the Lakers and Kobe Bryant ran out of the arena in the middle of the game, I would be like, yeah, Kobe, you go. Like, no, I paid to see Kobe Bryant play that. Where you going?
what if he had to save his girlfriend from a robot, though.
Well, I don't know that.
Yeah, it reminds me of Quidditch, the other worst spectator sport in film.
Yeah,
But
I was
that's-
wondering if you were going to bring
That's
up
a rant for
Quidditch.
another time. Movies can't make up sports. It never goes well. Let's keep
Time
going.
for this,
forgetting
Alita.
pod
Just
racing.
go watch Alita.
That is Wizard.
It explains everything. Prepare for a film set in the 2500s, made with the best technology of the 2010s, that still plays out like it never left the 90s, where everyone is really into X Games, as scene after scene of Motorball dominates the runtime, but always feels like a skippable minigame in a Final Fantasy. Nothing says cutting-edge
really glad
future
Blitzball
world
made it.
like a
Yeah, it's a good music cue. I like it.
Yeah, this is great.
Take that, old man.
He doesn't have a hat anymore.
Rat-dudical.
Pause. I legit, like, you guys brought this up when we were writing this. Like, it's very 90s, and because I simmered in 90s movies for 10 years, that was my upbringing, I, like, don't even notice when stuff is super 90s. That just feels like that's what a
feels
movie
default.
is to me. Like, when I see it pointed out, I'm like, oh, yeah, there were a lot of, like, cheesy rollerblading with your boys montages. Like, just doesn't, that's just a movie.
Yeah, because Daniel, this was sort of, the 90s stuff was sort of your baby. You were the one who was like, wait a minute.
You're like, wow, this is a really.
You sense the Jinkos of it all.
Yeah, well, it
That's
just.
early 2000s, Joe.
I think the first clue, other than the motorball, was I was like, oh. This was made when you could still kill the black person first and no one would notice or care. And that was the first thing that I noticed. I was like, oh, and that's when I looked back and realized that, yeah, it's based on like an older thing and it's been a script that's been around forever, based on notes that have been around forever. Because now people would go out of their way not to do that just so that people like me or other commenters are like, I don't want to even bother. It was never my intention, but I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen because that was such an overused trope. And so when you see something like that that's been like to the point where they're trying to make sure it doesn't happen, it kind of stands out.
Yeah, we'll see in the deleted scenes more 90s things. Oh yeah, a little tease. Stick around.
90s stuff.
Keep watching.
But
Chico's
it's not all
hot early
blades.
2000s.
Babes
late
blades.
90s then?
Babes made of blades. And blades to be. There are actually some great human actors in this movie. Or at least
Really
their
good cast.
disembodied faces.
Probably
as
signed on when
Jennifer
James Cameron
Connelly
was
spends the film being
Jackie
either
Earle
vaguely
Haley is
menacing or
unrecognizable.
vaguely helpful.
great.
Mahershala Ali spends it as a literal mouthpiece for someone else.
So we finally meet Alita.
Nova?
And Christoph Waltz does some heavy
Panzerkunst.
and some literal heavy lifting, like in Lost Her Arm.
I love his rocket hammer too. And just a moment of silence, or not silence, a moment of speaking about how much that doesn't make sense and yet is awesome. Because man, there's no way that thing works.
This is just, I feel like in the original, the first generation of live action anime adaptations, they'd have changed that. Because they'd be like, it looks dumb in live action. There's no way this old man could lift it. But now they're so afraid of upsetting the fans.
Yeah.
They're just like, leave it in.
That is
Rocket
probably
hammer.
the most Final Fantasy thing that's in this, is that it's just like the huge hammer.
Yeah.
I definitely want someone running around with a Buster Sword at some point.
Yes.
Just a huge cloud strife, like size of 8 different people.
But it's also the combination of acclaimed Academy Award-winning actor Christoph Waltz.
It's not just the hammer, it's him.
Right.
It's this very. If he weren't an actor, he could easily be like a biologist.
Oh, yeah.
This
I was
very
thinking pharmacist, dentist.
Yeah.
mild-mannered looking, middle-aged European man.
Welcome to
Wielding
Walgreens.
this
Who's
massive,
next?
like Vin Diesel-sized, Dwayne the Rock Hobbs style.
Dresses up like the Undertaker.
Yes.
Freaking rocket hammer. And like he's being like stealthy too. He's creeping
Yeah,
through
he's
the
like
shadows.
hiding in a corner with this massive thing.
It's like from Acme, like the Roadrunner shops or whatever, or pulled off the phrase Ponzo.
But that was the entire
That was the
screen
audition.
test audition
It's like the lineup scene in Usual Suspects.
Oh man, I'd love to see Benicio do it. Auditioning for Benicio.
I see that on the sides, most of the audition is crossed out and just these 2 words. This is all?
Panzerkunst. Werner Herzog, maybe.
Panzerkunst. Thank you.
You're the only one who didn't laugh. You have the part.
James Cameron's smoking like an 8 times the normal size cigar. Like, you're hired.
He gets directly back into his submarine.
He pulls a lever and just splashes into the water from the audition room.
He's
is
always in
how
the
I-
dunk tank.
That's how I visualize James Cameron, just underwater.
Control a giant rocket-powered hammer. Well, that's definitely how his assistant
Well, you got to
lost her arm,
replace the
isn't it?
robot parts.
So gear up for the passion project that was supposed to be James Cameron's opus. Till he dumped 600 pages of notes on Robert Rodriguez and went off to make Avatar sequels instead.
Pause.
With a final...
What's cool? And then he's like, figure it out. And then he gets back into the submarine. And
Dive.
That's got to be a mixed bag of feelings where you're like, James Cameron, like, that's like being knighted. James Cameron's like,
Yeah.
I believe in you for this project.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know, figure all this crap out.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, it is to realize his vision. Like, what an honor.
It's like when Spielberg, when it was Kubrick and AI, you know,
Yeah.
it's like, and on one hand, it's very intimidating. On the other hand, it's like, wow,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I think that like this was 100% James Cameron's decision. We're sure that he wasn't like.
It seems
I mean,
like it.
I don't know.
He was busy.
Because it seems like it's getting to page 600 in the studio might
Listen,
be like.
we talked about this, Spencer.
Yeah.
James Cameron, between 1997 when he made Titanic and 2009 when he made Avatar, and the 10 years since, has been very busy not making any other movies.
Yeah.
And
That's
3
a long
underwater
gap. It's
documentaries.
a long
Pacific
gap.
Ocean calls. You got to answer.
I don't know
Life is Lemon's
when
Lady.
you're making one movie a decade. I don't know where you find the time to do another movie.
Wow.
So,
Well, 'cause he's
He's just waiting for the tech to catch up to his brain
yes,
vision.
that's true. He was waiting for the tech.
Well, that's my understanding.
I was being funny. I know that he. I told you I'd been through it with this movie already.
Like, he made Avatar to perfect the technology to make this, so thank you.
Good job. Good. Get on a
This
robot,
is like
make it
the
look
first
realistic.
movie nerd news I ever remember knowing about, though. Like on whatever AOL group, like movie.a.
Less generic or more generic than Avatar. I think as far as like story and script.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
There is an alternate universe out there, some split timeline where James Cameron did not decide to do Avatar, where Alita Battle Angel might have just
Yeah.
been the movie that Avengers Endgame beat
If this
as the
came out-
highest grossing movie of all time because he
in
made
3D,
it 10 years ago.
If this came out in 3D 10 years ago,
Yeah.
I think it would have been.
There'd be a
enormous.
motorball spectacle at Disney.
Yeah, we'd be preparing for Alita 2 through 5 right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
There'd
We'd
be,
be on some space station reporting back from Alita 4.
You could go to Irontown's Edge. You could build your own. You could build your own rocket hammer.
Kunst clubs.
Yeah.
James Cameron drops 600 pages of notes about blue people that have sex with each other's tails in front of Robert Rodriguez. It was like, figure
James Cameron leaving meetings by just holding his nose and falling forwards.
there's always a splash and like a marlin that flips up.
All right, I
in the air.
think good productive meeting. You guys get on that. Check in with me when you're ready.
He rides away on an orca.
I don't think he even attends. He's just in one of those diving bell suits, and there's like a tube like sitting at his conference table seat.
Oh man.
One of those old brass horns.
Yeah.
I think it looks great. You just need to.
James is calling in from a shark cage.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh man, what a treasure. Let's keep watching.
Dead, with a final product that blends awesome robot fighting, decades-old cyberpunk tropes, and suddenly ending on a shot of Ed Norton instead of bringing the story to a conclusion. Starring... Wait, we're gonna do that too? Oh, that's frustrating.
Pause. Now, we had a debate internally, I think mostly just Lon and I, whether Ed Norton deserves such a large reveal. I say yes. I think he's an iconic actor of his generation
I
and
feel
ours.
like because there's such a setup. They really tease it out like we're gonna make some huge reveal of who Nova really is. And I was like, well, I didn't hear about who this character's gonna be. I was bracing for like a Jack Nicholson, a Clint Eastwood, like an iconic.
If Woody Harrelson gets it in Venom,
I also
Ed
felt like
Norton
that was a
definitely
little.
gets it.
To be honest, I felt like that was a little overblown too.
It was. There was a real build up to Woody Harrelson.
I don't know if I'd use that as my standard, but it's just I don't know. There's something inherently funny about that shot to me that they're building.
Wait, he didn't have a goatee.
He's got a little thing right here.
Hang
He's got a
on,
little soul
let me
patch thing, right?
see.
Back to Ed Norton.
Can I please
Can we
see?
see?
how
I think he's got a little mark right here on his chin. It could just be a shadow, but I thought so.
Let me see.
There's scruff under that bottom lip.
Maybe, but it's definitely not a goatee.
Okay, it's
but
not.
there is like the weird cyberpunk skullet.
Yeah.
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 I think he's got a Zorg haircut, kind of.
Also, I didn't. It took me a second to realize it was Edward Norton. I thought it was Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day Off for like 2 seconds.
Alan Ruck.
Now, Alan Ruck if he was, deserves the reveal.
Oh man, if they ended on like a dude bow bow.
Alita's gonna keep calling me. She'll keep calling me.
She'll
I'll
make
go.
me feel
I'll go.
guilty.
I'll go. I'll bring her to Zalem. I'll bring her.
Yeah, I like his tiny glasses too, which in my headcanon, he hates Alita because he has tiny eyes. Large
She
eyes.
has big eyes.
Yeah.
This is the source of their whole showdown.
It's like the old the hero is the opposite of
Yes.
the villain.
Right, yes.
Yep. That's a
Edward has
more
tiny eyes.
direct, simple confrontation than the movie has.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I mean, I'm sure the manga explains it, but like Murder Ball, it's not Murder Ball. Motor Ball is like the entire economy of the ground
Yeah,
level,
this-
which is like sending people up to one person a year.
This
a
is-
season goes up to Zalem.
But it's very unclear. Like, yes, apparently Motorball is also like the government of Iron City because the same whatever. But it's never. They don't like put a point on that. There's no.
I mean, I'm
like,
sure
and they're all
the
working
point's
for
been put
Nova.
on it elsewhere.
I guess so, but it's
not in the movie.
Did
It
you
is
want more
confusing.
points put on things?
No,
that
it was
matter?
like 2/3 of the way through the movie. That's an important one. Like you could leave a lot of this other stuff out, but like
Is her becoming final champion and all this other stuff happening? So I guess it could have been.
But she doesn't. They'll have to enforce the rules and let her come up to Zalem, I guess.
I thought they were building up
Yeah.
to that was going to be another like fake out. Like, we don't really send the Master Chief at his own, but I don't know.
And the difference between that and the Matrix, and I will tell you, is because he's like, well, the Matrix ends the exact same way with Neo saying he's going to come get us. Like, yes, but even though Neo says at the end that he's going to go and get the machines or that they're fighting back, outside of that, it is a complete story
that's a
circle. His
coda.
character completes his evolution from the beginning to the end of the movie,
Yeah,
whereas it is a partial completion of the story in this film. I don't think this film tells the complete story.
Well, because she never finds out who she is or where she
Right,
came
you
from.
have many
or-
dangling.
That
things
movie's
that are
about
left
Neo
unanswered.
waking up, realizing he was in the Matrix, and then coming into his own as the one. And that happens before
Yes.
the Matrix.
I think that's a very superficial comparison that people use to defend the movie. Whereas from a storytelling standpoint, I think that I can defend the Matrix much more than this film on that movie. But the movie intentionally leaves so much of it vague,
Yeah.
and not in a way of just like, oh, you fill in the blanks, but in a way of just like, we're going to tell you about this in part 2. We're going to resolve
very
this in
cocky
part 2.
at this point.
We're going to, we're going to wrap up this character. Like there's so many characters that just don't really, that just exit the movie and they don't finish because it's like, well, whatever, they're going to be in the next one. Like that's what bothers me is like they completed something in this movie and you could still make a sequel,
Yeah, is that Scryan going to get his face back? Come on, we need to know.
He has an annoying goatee in this movie. I really want to rip that little.
Yeah, that
thing
literally
off.
has got like a metal goatee hanging.
Again, that's a soul patch. It's not a goatee.
Yeah.
A goatee is a whole thing. It's a different thing.
Come on, guys.
All right, keep going.
Starring iRobot, Doc, Hammer Time. He's just a skater boy. Pentium for a dream.
It's a good one.
Droid Rage. Optimus Crime. Hidden Figure. Smithers, release the saws. And the first rule of Zalem is you do not talk about Zalem. Toy Story. James Cameron got obsessed with. I mean, it's not bad, but why couldn't somebody have slipped him JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? You made the wrong move, you stupid pig! Awesome.
Can we consider?
No, I don't think we ever
let's just
recorded it.
roll the deleted scenes. And
Yeah,
we'll talk after.
we'll talk about it.
That still plays out like it never left the 90s, where the bad boys ride motorcycles, the black people die first, and everyone is really into X Games.
Alt.
Starring Loelita, Uncanny Valley Girl, Small.
And it's because I believe there was a typo in the script.
Wow. And he just.
And we just
There.
Uncanny Valley Girl. That's our fault. The typo shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
But I was watching the cut. I'm like, I think he read
Wonder.
I like this because the plot's kind of similar. Let's be honest.
Dr. Robotnik, Warhammer 40K, Father of the Eyed, Peter Parkour, Meat Boy.
No, I think that was supposed to be my wife.
It was very
right?
much supposed to be
Okay.
my wife.
Yeah.
Okay.
But whose wife is it anyway? I mean, we know it's
Christoph Waltz's
Tito's wife.
But yes.
Yeah.
I like her Gwen Stefani dot.
They all have them. It's a
Everyone's
Zalem
all
thing.
The Mark of
Oh, yeah, the Mark of
Zalem,
Zalem.
it's called,
You're
Joe.
right.
That'd be third eye.
Hey, Zalem.
I mean, I think that's like a
hey.
biblical thing. Like everybody will get the mark of the beast at the apocalypse.
No.
I think that's what that is.
But it is just like cut his off.
Yeah, he's like, that's why I removed my mark of Zalem.
It's part of the technology. He does some work.
He does a lot
Yeah,
of work.
bravo.
Here's the words.
Third eye unkind. That's shabby.
I can't believe that's Japanese. Thank you.
And a motherfucker always trying to ice skate uphill. Actual mortal engines.
Accurate. That is
Yeah.
accurate.
She's not actually sad in any of these scenes. Iron City's just really, really dusty.
There's a lot.
It's a lot of crying. Yeah, so much surface area to get wind
Yeah.
and dust.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's gotta
It's
hurt
very-
after a while.
Viewer mail. Bright says, I think it's as faithful as a big budget Hollywood adaptation of a manga can be in Go, which I assume is Hugo.
Hugo, yes.
And who the F expected a conclusion? Well, this table did.
I mean,
Some kind.
you don't
have to wrap the whole thing up,
When
but-
I go to a movie, I do expect an ending.
Who expects stories to end? I mean, really.
I think this is like where they go in and they're just like, I just want to see the things that I know, and like they're like solid film.
Which is things that they like in them. Like,
Sure.
there's not an objective set of things that should be in a movie that are objectively
Yeah.
the correct things
Nah, it's
to like.
objective.
And you
we
can-
measure it here.
and you
we
can-
melt them down and spin them in a centrifuge.
I'm totally
and tell
fine
you
with
how good they
people
are.
that went to see Alita and saw that like Alita and saw the stuff and liked that the things that they brought from the manga and don't care that because they know how the story goes, that they don't care, they're not as much into the story as I am. But like, that's cool. I'm totally fine with them not liking it. But like, you also have to be okay.
Well,
with
Bright
people
is
that
giving
don't.
it up in their statement that
Yeah.
there is no conclusion because they say who expected one. 11 writes, Adrian,
also
J.A.A.
said
writes,
Ghost
Proto
Show.
Noah writes, Jared Scott. A lot of people wrote best adaptation of a manga, Edge of Tomorrow, which I agree.
I
You're
forgot about that
Yes.
one.
Yep.
I blame that they changed the name of it 17
Yes.
times.
Yes.
Oh, wait,
And
was the movie based on the original manga, or was it based on wasn't there a separate like book?
I don't know. Is it Kill La Kill or is that a different one?
No, it's different.
yeah,
It's all
yeah.
you need is kill.
All you need is kill, and then they had called it Live, Die, Repeat for a while.
Yeah, I liked Live, Die, Repeat.
yeah. But all you need is kill is the original.
My excuse is they kept changing it, but that.
But fair point.
Fair
But
point.
yeah, no, I think we just forgot.
It's a great movie. I
think we
agree.
just forgot about
Edge of
that.
Tomorrow is better than this movie.
Yeah, which
Yes.
we've never done
I
an
think.
honest trailer for. Maybe later.
Because
It's
good.
how do you?
Yeah, it's really
Everyone
fun.
has problems
We've
with
done
the
Happy
ending,
Death
but the
Day.
ending makes sense, and I'll explain it to you later. Okay, let's see. People saying they're in love with Alita. Cool.
We know.
I love the movie. Then its two endings happen, and I was like, WTF? Let's see. I never read the comic, but I genuinely love the movie, says Mafia Cat 88. Points for getting someone with no prior knowledge to really like it. Okay,
That's good.
Yeah,
That's fine.
that's cool.
I do want to. I'll check out the comics, especially after that space karate stuff. But
Yeah, I
it's
have to
not,
now.
It's not called Alita Battle Angel. It's called Gundam, not Gundam. I think it's called GUMN is the name of the manga that this is adapted from.
Gum?
Okay.
Does that mean something in
Gundam.
Japanese?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm sure it does. See, these
Yeah,
are the
most-
things. Every time I just hear the collective voice of the internet screaming the answer. It's like Rorschach. They're looking up and whispering whatever the answer is. So
They're just gonna have to deal with it.
I'm assuming that the internet that they know.
Now cry out.
I love honest trailers, but you got something wrong. Final Fantasy X is an RPG minigame wrapped around Blitzball. Blitzball, Blitzball,
Okay,
Blitzball.
that's fair. That's fair.
Okay.
It was fine. Blitzball's okay.
Yeah, I have played that game, and I found Blitzball to be the least satisfying. I wanted to get back to my amazing adventures with my team.
I want to go back to, was it snowboarding in Final Fantasy VII?
Yeah, there was snowboarding and there was
snowboarding.
chocobo
There was
races, which
chocobo
is
races.
that's
Yeah.
my jam.
And I like that card game. I think it's in
9.
8 or 9, where it's like you have the 4 numbers on the little top left, and you have to put the numbers in the
That's
grid.
8,
and
I
Yeah,
flip
that's
the other
8.
ones.
Yeah, that's.
It's just expensive. They're not going to spend $100 million on an animated
And
film.
I think
They
sometimes
spend $100 million on a lot of animated films. They won't spend $100 million on an animated film that's not for kids.
Kids
Yeah.
and families.
Oh,
I mean,
right. True.
we know reliably that if you make like an animated musical from Disney, that
Yes.
parents and families will go see it. We do not know reliably that if you make an expensive movie for adults,
artistic mediums, like some stuff's just not gonna does movie good. It works.
Well, it was a movie, and it was animated, and it was good, and so just watch that one. I haven't seen JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
that's
Joe,
good.
one Joe. What do you think about JoJo? Would it work?
no.
JoJo stars.
So-
Would you like to say?
the day I found out about this anime was my I'm Mr. Sparkle moment. My Homer Simpson, I'm Mr. Sparkle. Because I was like, what?
Joe's Bizarre Adventure?
No, their names. His name is Joe Joestar.
Yeah. The Joe's name was like, I thought it was like a working name, and he had chosen it based off of his favorite anime.
And there's also the French rapper Joey Starr.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nailing it.
You're climbing the ranks.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why in any video we do, someone says, "Is that a JoJo reference?" Because my name is their name too. John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. Yeah, it's a really weird anime that would also not work as a movie.
Okay.
Well, you couldn't. You'd have to pick one timeline. I feel like.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it doesn't.
And license a lot of music.
Ask, because I'm very ignorant on this. I saw many people were very happy to see this reference.
It's it's kind of a meme.
Okay, but then I saw one person that said that because we had called out JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, that we are blocked and unsubscribed from. Is there a? Did they just hate it, or is there an anti-JoJo's Bizarre Adventure?
I mean, it's the internet, so
I think
there was just a person that really had a bone to pick with.
I mean, Johnny Cash said it. The meme comes around at some point. So,
and Joe, I don't want to throw you under the bus, but there was a different anime you chose at first.
The initial, and I was I'm proud that I got it at least almost on the page. Originally, the tag was going to be that we wish James Cameron had discovered Yuri on Ice, which is a delightful anime about male figure skaters that in love. That
not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, but I also like the idea of James Cameron making that.
Yeah, and the Alan show was going to end with a bunch of boy-looking men in a hot tub together.
Yeah, no, it's delightful. But I think JoJo's the more recognizable, big pop.
Yeah.
Mention that it's the cheap pop. It's the Mick Foley. Aren't we glad to be here in insert city here? And everyone's like, that's where I live. That's where we are right now. Woo!
Got it. Okay. Well, good choice. Good choice. That's all I want to talk about that people were saying. Any final thoughts on Alita? You remind me of a West Side Story.
I know Robert Rodriguez can write a really smart, well-crafted script. Like the exposition.
He didn't write this, did he?
He pared it down from
probably.
600 pages. But like Desperado has such smart exposition with like people fearfully explaining who this guy is. It doesn't just get across exposition, but also like builds to the mystique and the character and the legend of the mariachi and stuff like that. And yeah, I don't know. This movie just feels like a committee wrote it real quick to like hit the bingo of things that the hordes of Alita fans that were definitely going to come out in droves and make endgame money with this.
He's just doing like the FAQ sheet that comes at the beginning. He's like, let me just go ahead and put that in because that answers all the questions. I'll sprinkle that throughout the script.
The too long didn't read of Alita.
It's like a primer or primer, however you want to say it, for Alita.
A cram
rather than a movie. A cram it.
He made the cram it for Alita.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I think it does not so well here at home. Borderline. Yeah. So like it's on the borderline. Maybe if they want to keep good relations with Cameron, they'll keep making them. Who knows?
Yeah, it happen. It may not. We'll find out like 3 years from now if they've crunch the numbers.
The difference being, I don't think they have the Pacific Rim option to like strip it down for a sequel and like make it cheaper
I don't know,
looking.
Man, if they do it all in like one contained space karate dojo on the moon.
Maybe Zalem is just one big warehouse.
Yeah.
And Ed Norton's at the top.
Fight your way up using all styles of space karate. I would watch that movie 100 times.
I think I've just come up with your Alita 2 pitch, guys. It's just the raid in space.
Yeah. Sorry if I seem a little out of it. My head is on next week's Honest Trailer. It's a doozy. This might be the end of us. So please come back next week. We'll be talking even more about even more Honest Trailers. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.